I have a perfect credit score of 850, and depending on which model you use, that might change a little bit. Here are 10 things you might consider on your journey to getting your perfect score.
Perfect.
Number 1, it's a game. Learn the rules. Number 2, it's only concerned with how well you pay your bills, not how well you manage money. Number 3, the period of concern should not be measured in days and months, but in years and decades. This doesn't mean it's going to take you that long to fix the problem, but that's the period of time that you need to be paying attention and looking at. Number 4, your expectation should be that something on the report is wrong. It's either wrong now or it's going to go wrong real soon.
A survey in 2021 found that more than a third of those polled found errors in their credit reports. Of more than 700,000 credit or consumer reporting complaints received in 2021, more than half pertain to incorrect information on their report.
Number 5, resolutions do not persist. I don't care what company, what credit reporting agency, what creditor, what collection agency you're working with. The resolutions, there's no guarantee that something that was on there and got erased is not going to pop back up. Which leads us to number 6, pay attention, maintain awareness, and review your status regularly. So if something does pop back up, you're on your game and you can address it quickly. Number 7, use, demand, and archive hard copy documentation. Electronic copies are fine, but you still want hard copies, especially when sending things in and making requests. If you send something in to a credit reporting agency, a hard copy, in my opinion, is superior to anything electronic. Trust no one you deal with. Assume that everybody you're dealing with is either being disingenuous, not telling you everything that you need to know, obfuscating, or prevaricating in some way where they're giving you information to lead you to make an assumption about a thing that isn't actually true. That leads us to number 9. If you can't trust anybody you deal with, this means you can't trust anything you deal with either. Don't trust the data. Don't trust your screen. Refresh your screen often. Sometimes the information that changes and updates, you won't be aware of it because the information is stale. You're making your decisions on information that's invalid. If you can, check multiple sources. Number 10, perform VerVal on all activity. This is verification and validation. These 10 things will put you in the right mindset that you need to be in for this kind of work. Amazingly, this doesn't actually take that long to make significant changes and resolve this particular issue. Let's take a look at my credit score so you'll know that I'm not joking you when I tell you can do this. Keeping in mind, when I originally started looking at this stuff, my credit score was in the upper 400s, and I quickly got it up about 200 points, probably within a month and a half, 2 months. In this part 1 video, I'm not going to talk about those things that I did. We'll save that for part 2, but it's important that you have a foundation and understand the big picture before you get to the details. Nothing is worse than trying to do very detailed work when you don't have an idea of what the big picture is. Okay, looking at my credit score here, you can see this is legit, 850 credit score. And as you can see from the chart below, the score history, it shows that for the last year, it's been right about 850. It dipped down there a little bit for a couple of months, and we'll take a look at why that might have happened, either in this report or in one of the others. But I'm going to quickly go through each tab so you can have an idea about what you need to be focusing on for each category. This score is based on the data that TransUnion puts out. Other models might be Experian or Equifax.
And Equifax, Experian, TransUnion are this country's biggest credit reporting agencies. You have, as you know, and as we've talked, tremendous power over people's lives. The information you collect and put in people's credit reports determines whether people can get a mortgage or buy a car, what interest rates they pay, what credit cards they can get at what rate, whether they'll get insurance, what they pay for it, whether they'll be able to rent an apartment, whether they'll be accepted for a job. All of that, in some sense, is in your hands.
All of these scores have some kind of matrix and ratios that they use, and a lot of this information is proprietary to whatever credit reporting agency you're dealing with. They don't really let you know how they're calculating this from a specific or detailed view. The only thing they give you are very generic, broad level strokes, but those broad level strokes can point us in the right direction. So looking at this first section up here, total accounts. I have 11. It says exceptional. One of the things it's looking at down here is I have 8 revolving credit accounts. Revolving credit, that's just like your credit card. It's a set amount of money that you can spend or borrow against. And as long as you spend up to that limit, you're fine with them. The idea is that you pay them back. And what you pay them back is interest, which is the penalty for using somebody else's money. I have 8 of those in here. They like that. The higher that number is, the better it is for this score. Keep in mind, you don't need 8 credit cards. I don't think anybody needs 8 credit cards. You probably don't need 1 credit card. But this is one of the things that society and creditors may use to establish how trustworthy you are. If you've got several accounts, then man, you've already been vetted. It seems like you have a track record of being able to get accounts, which means there's less work for them to do. So you're trustworthy. 11 accounts, that looks pretty good to them. Next up, how many years? For this one, 22 years. 22 years, I think, is a long time. 20 years is a lifetime. That should be plenty for someone to establish a pattern about how you conduct yourself in business. And whereas total accounts was 10%, the length of credit, however, that's 15%. So that's more important to them. Next up are inquiries. This is 10% of the FICO score. These inquiries can hurt you. Hard inquiries is what they call them. So when you're looking for credit, that's a flag to creditors that you're making moves, you're doing something, you're planning something, and you're trying to extend your fiscal strength, your power. For them, that is essentially introducing more risk. Here you can see I have 0 in the last 12 months, but I think they actually track 2 years. Next up, revolving utilization. This is 30% of your FICO score. So you need to have the credit account. And if you're using your credit account and it's revolving credit, they ding you on it. But if you don't have it, they also ding you on it. So again, you need to have the revolving credit account in play, but you either need to not use it or not use it that much and be in control. With it being 30% of the FICO score, that's a significant number. And right now it shows that I'm using 3% of the credit limit that I have. This number, you'll see people tell you different amounts. They say you can use up to 30% of your total credit limit, and that's okay for your FICO score. I disagree with that. I think it should be in the single digits. It should not be in the double digits at all. And it should be in the low single digits at that. I think anything above 5, you probably need to make some changes, because once it gets above 5%, it tends to accelerate how fast it grows and it gains mass and power. And that's the road to ruin in my eyes. You want to always control this number. Keep it as low as you possibly can. And for me, this 3% is actually quite large. I don't like having it there. I like to pretty much keep everything paid off down to 0 if I can. And then finally, missed payments. This is the largest indicator and the largest piece of what they use. 35% of your FICO score is coming from this one component. If we calculate this out, we could say 850 is the maximum score, and we're going to take away 35%. And that means if you maxed everything else out, if you scored perfectly on everything else, all the other criteria, but you goose-egged when it came to your missed payments, the highest you could get will be a score of 553. That means that you're really not going to be able to buy anything. There are levels to this, but the bottom line is this is a big number. This one will hurt you real bad. So for me, this one is 0 accounts in the last year and 0 accounts in the last 7 years. So I think that's one of the biggest indicators for this. Again, none of this has anything to do with how well you manage money. It has everything to do with how well you pay bills. That's the only thing they're concerned about. All right, let's take a look at another one. Okay, for this one, you can see the credit score is 831 instead of 850. What caused the 19-point drop in the credit score using essentially the same data? This is what I was mentioning earlier about the different models that the different platforms use. And as you can see here, the Vantage Score 3.0, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they developed this model in 2006. All of these models are somewhat different. They have different percentages that they use, different ratios to determine your score. Even though they're related, they still interpret the data differently, and that's accounting for the difference. And I've actually had an 850 even with this, but something changed somewhere either with me or with them that caused it to kind of just hover around at 831. But let's dive in and see what all of this looks like if we go into the score breakdown. This Vantage Score model is dinging me a little bit, so I don't like it. All right, the score breakdown. What's it look like? If you look down here, because of my score, they keep offering me stuff. If I go back to the overview, you can see, hey, you're already approved. You're already approved, selected for you. They've already done the work. They want to give you more credit. Now, I remember a time where I really needed to have credit and I couldn't get it anywhere. And now that I don't need it, all they do is offer it to you. So this tells you the logic at play with these companies. They want to put you in a bind if they can. It's up to you to maintain discipline and make sure you understand that this is not real money. It's not your money, first of all. And then it's not even real money. It's pay money. It's stuff you got to pay back and you get a penalty for paying it back. This doesn't make sense to me. So I try to minimize this. And for me, I typically pay my credit card off definitely once a month. That balance gets down to zero. Payment history. Let's look at that first. Very high impact, it says. And here, this is pretty good. They're giving you a little bit more information about how what you're doing is impacting your score. Here they say 0 is great, 1 is good, 2 to 3 is fair, and 4+, you're in poor range then. So it's not going to take many missed payments for this to greatly impact your score. I mean, right away, as soon as you get 1, you don't even get a grace period or any kind of cushion, where maybe you can have 1 or 2 late payments and have it not affect you. I think 2 kind of makes sense to me. Things happen, you fat finger something, you made a mistake, you were out of town on vacation and your computer crashed, or you sent the money to the wrong place. They don't account for any of that. So this is why it behooves you to pay your bills early. Make sure that you always stay ahead. For some of my bills, I have a surplus of money, like some of the utility bills and things like that. I'm up several $100s or $1,000 on some of these bills. So if something happened and I had money problems, I could stop paying that bill because I have the cushion there. The people that want to take most of your money, they're not going to accept that. I've actually had money sent back to me from credit card companies because if you make more than 2 payments any given month, they don't like that. They send that money back to you. They don't want to keep that on the books, where I like to have them in the hole rather than having me in the hole. This, more than anything else, is the thing that can hurt you. So this is one to really watch. All right, let's go back to the score factors and see what's next. Credit history. All right. And again, they give you the criteria, and this is very interesting to me. If I start at the bottom, I can see that 13 years, 7 months, that average age, that's great. But 22 years is not great. 22 years is only good. Are you kidding me? You got to have 25 years to be great. Come on, man. 20 years is a generation. You're telling me you can go from basically coming out the womb to graduating from college and that ain't good enough? Man, that doesn't make sense.
Yes, indeed. Seems logical to me also.
This is what I talk about, the gamification and what the real agenda is. And it's to keep you under the thumb with these kind of criterion to impact your score this heavily. Doesn't make sense to me. And then look at the bottom. It says, keep in mind, paying off a student, car, or home loan may cause your score to dip temporarily since that account is closed and no longer active. So paying off something that's on your credit report is actually going to hurt your score. That should be a good thing. That should be something that you get a thumbs up on. That doesn't make sense to me, but that's how the system is set up. All right, let's go to the next one, credit usage. All right, I'm using 2% of mine. It says keeping balances below 30% of your credit may help your score. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is what's recommended. They put this out there. They say 30% is pretty good. Hogwash, bollocks. That's crazy. Doesn't make sense. You need to keep this number below 10%. It needs to be a single digit number and preferably a low single digit number. Once you get past a certain point, a lot of these things, they tend to snowball. They tend to get out of hand. That little fire that you had becomes this roaring blaze and it's hard to control it and put it out and contain it. You don't want that to happen. So my recommendation is to keep this number very, very low. All right, next up, total balances. But again, they are being forthright here by telling you to keep your balances below a certain percentage. It's just I disagree with whatever that percentage rate is. They're saying under 30. And again, that doesn't make sense for any kind of revolving credit. Credit checks. And here the criteria that they use: great, 0, good, 1 to 2, fair, 3 to 5. And again, there's no cushion here. it seems like you should be able to reasonably go out and apply for at least one thing without it dinging you. Like great should be 0 to 1, and then maybe good could be 2 to 3, and then fair 4 to 5. The upper limit of all of these things could stay roughly the same. That makes sense to me, but you have no cushion as a consumer when it comes to dealing with some of these agencies and some of these companies. Some of these little points here and there can be the difference between you getting a great rate and just getting an okay rate. Even though you're doing a great job, everything is fine, but because they're able to nickel and dime you on your score and pull it back a little bit, it harms you. And then finally, the last thing on here is available credit. Here, they don't have any kind of criteria, it just kind of tells you what you got. I could have a lot more than this, but I don't want more than this. I wanted to have an amount that I thought made sense, that I had plenty of cushion and room to maneuver if something went sideways, but there's no need for me to have much more than that. And they keep sending the offers out and wanting you to extend. And if you can do this, if you get your score to a certain level, the creditors are going to notice it and they're going to start bombarding you with stuff. You know, you could probably run this number up to several $100,000 pretty easy, as long as you didn't actually utilize any of it in any significant way. I tend to not use any of these cards. I have one card that I use with a credit union, and the others, I just buy stuff on it like every 6 months. I have a schedule set up where I go in, and if there's something I plan on buying, that's when I'll use that card. It might be a candy bar, it might be a soda pop, it might be a cheeseburger. It'll be something real small that I can pay off quick. Usually I send the money in before I even make the purchase, and I'll overshoot too. So that way, if for some reason I forgot, even though I'm checking this stuff every month, I don't get dinged. They owe me money rather than me owing them money. This is on Chase, and I like that window probably a little bit better than the Discovers, except for the way that they're scoring me. I don't like that part. They give you a little bit more information about how they're breaking down the information to derive your score. And I think that's important to know so that you can have a better idea of what changes you need to make and what areas those changes should be in. Okay, this is the last one. This is from Navy Federal. So the score is 831. Again, it's using the Vantage Score 3.0. Let's go through the criteria and see how the percentages look. So for payment history, this is 40% of the score. That's a little bit different than what we saw with Discover, who was using TransUnion proper rather than using the Vantage Score, which again is an amalgamation or a tool created by Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion together. For credit usage, that's 20% of the score. And again, if you notice, 30%, that's the line in the sand that they've drawn. They're saying that credit usage below 30% can help your score. That's too high. In my eyes, that's way too high. And I'm pretty sure they know that that's too high. You're past the point of no return, in my eyes, when you're up to 30%. That needs to be down in the single digits, and the low single digits at that. Age of credit, that makes up 21% of the score. The balances across all of the accounts, this makes up 11% of the score. The amortized payment schedule is a little bit different than revolving credit, and so that one doesn't look to ding the score significantly or at all for most of these models. That may be what's bringing my score down here though, because I have the mortgage. That might be the thing that's accounting for that 19-point drop from what I get from the TransUnion score proper. Recent credit checks, this accounts for 5% of the score. And on the TransUnion side, that was 10% of the score. So yeah, the percentages are different, the ratios are different, and that's creating the difference in the scores right there. And finally, the available credit, that's 3% of the score. But the thing I really want to look at for this particular tool is the simulator. Maybe some of the other sites have it too, and I just overlooked it. Maybe Chase and Discover, maybe they have a simulator as well. But this definitely seems like something a credit union would be into, where they want to kind of help you out a little bit more than, say, a regular bank would. The first module that they have in here is update my credit card balances and limits. Let's say I raise my credit card debt by, let's do $10,000. Okay, that drops me down 17 points. Let's change that to 20,000. Oh boy. Okay, so changing that to 20,000, that's a full 42-point drop. Nothing else has changed if I'm still paying my bills on time, but me utilizing more of my available credit to me, that's a pretty big ding for that amount of money for someone who, in all other categories, is a very good customer who has a stellar record, yet you still get 42-point drop from this one thing. Okay, so we'll reset this guy, open or close accounts. Okay, I'm gonna close my oldest card. Let's see what that does. Oh, not bad at all. I was expecting that to be more since credit history is so important, but that's just my oldest card. I'm not certain, but I probably have a couple that are around the same age, so I would probably have to close a couple of them to drop that history down. And you can see some of the other things that you can do with this tool. Add a new credit card with the limit, open a new card, transfer a balance, add a new loan. So these are things that if you have Navy Federal, play around with some of those other scenarios. Right now, I'm just kind of giving you touch points. Oh boy, this is a big one, because now we're talking about payment history. And again, this is the most significant thing when it comes to your credit score. Let's say I let all my accounts go past due for 90 days. What's that look like? Wow. Man, that's bonkers right there. That's 686, 145 points. If I let all of my accounts go past due for 90 days. Let's see what that looks like if I let one of my accounts go past due for 90 days. First, do a reset, say 90 days for one account. Okay, that's interesting because that's not much higher than all of my accounts. All right, so if I let all of my accounts go for 90 days, I can't get to them because I'm lost at sea, stranded on a deserted island, and I can't get to these things to pay them. Whether it's all of my accounts or one account, the impact isn't that much different in my eyes. If I was in a situation and I was contemplating, okay, I'm about to make some drastic steps, what can I let go? It doesn't hurt me as bad, at least from a credit score perspective, to let all of this stuff go rather than just one account. So they also have encounter and obstacle. Okay, so that's basically saying something's going to collections. What's that do? All right, 7. All right, so if I let something go to collections, that's pretty significant. If I let one account go to collections, it almost has the same impact of me letting all of my accounts go past 90 days. You know, you don't get any reprieve. There's no kind of do-over with any of this. Let's see how bad it is if I do the 90 days and collections. 693. So it's 693 if I let all of my accounts go past due for 90 days and I have something in collections. And that doesn't look right to me. Let me try with the one account. That's also 693. So that doesn't add up to me because these scores were different when we did it last time. Matter of fact, let's reset everything. All right, so if I go here in 90 days, all accounts is 686. Reset 90 days for one account, that's 711. So those scores are different, which means if I do that plus collections, those scores should be different, but they aren't. 90 days and collections is 693, reset. 90 days for one account and collections is 693, reset. All right, so you have to take this with a grain of salt because right now, if I go 90 days, that's saying 686. If I add collections in, the score actually increases. Yeah, so take the simulator with a grain of salt. It's probably good for single use projections. You're probably going to be okay. You shouldn't use this to be a definitive answer. It's just to kind of get you in the ballpark about how something can hurt you. But here, there's clearly something wrong with the model. If I let all of my accounts go past due for 90 days and I let something go to collections, that score is higher than if I let all of my accounts go past due for 90 days. So that doesn't make sense. These are tools that you can use to help you make decisions about trying to optimize your credit score. In the next episode, part 2 of this video, I'm going to go through step by step how I would approach fixing my credit today if I had the same credit score I had when I first got started on my journey. My credit score was in the upper 400s. What would I do? How would I approach it? I'll look at some of the latest rules and make sure that I'm not steering anybody down the wrong path. But again, you need to do your own research. I'm doing this as a model, somebody who had bad credit and fixed it relatively quickly and has maintained it for now decades. Once you figure out, again, that it's a game and the things that they're looking for, it makes it real easy. And you should be disciplined. I won't go so far as to say, like Dave Ramsey, that you shouldn't have any credit cards at all. Probably smart to have one or two. Do I think you need them? Nah, I don't think you need them at all. But I think it can ease your way if you have them in our modern society and the way things operate. make payments and interact with financial institutions. But anytime you have sophisticated technology and sophisticated tools at your disposal, it comes with a certain amount of discipline required by the end user in order for them to stay safe and also to not cause problems within that system. Unfortunately, most of us aren't given the education and intelligent resources needed to make some of the decisions for that optimization. And we're kind of thrown out to the wolves, and you figure it out by having things go wrong. Sometimes life helps you learn, and sometimes life teaches you a lesson. And most of us have been taught lessons, which is how we ended up learning. And that's really probably not the best way. But that's it for this one. We're going to flesh this out step by step in the next video about how I would approach this now. Until then, good luck with your planning, and thanks for watching.